Welcome to Forward Ever, Leading in Challenging Times, presented by Worth Wealth Management, a weekly conversation with area leaders about how to persevere during uncertain times. Now here's your host, Gary Shorman.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Forward Ever, Leading in Challenging Times. Thanks for listening along as we talk to leaders from not only around the state, around the country, but talk about the challenging times and some of the challenges we get to see as leaders. Our guest today is Kansas Secretary of Labor, Amber Schultz. Good to have you with us today.
Hey, good morning, Gary. How are you?
Well, it's good, and you know what? We get this fun time of year where the weather can be 70 degrees one day, and now it's back to a winter wonderland, whether we like it or not. I'm ready for spring, and I'm sure many of us that are listening are doing that same thing. Well, you've been at this now for 4 years as Kansas Secretary of Labor. Did you ever expect to be here 4 years doing this?
I hoped I would be here for 4 years. I really do. I believe what I do and how I do it matters. And so I am a dedicated public servant. I've been in public service for almost 30 years. And so, having the opportunity to solve a major issue within the state of Kansas was very important to me. My leadership approach kind of integrates innovation and technology and really community, the people that I work with and work for. So I'm proud that I've been here for 4 years.
Well, I have to say, when you started, the Department of Labor was in the news a lot.
Yeah.
And you don't hear about it much anymore, mainly because of the changes you've made. Talk about that transition, because some of us don't remember last week, no less 4 years ago. But it was kind of a mess when you took over.
It was, and it was of no doing of anybody here. The system that provided unemployment insurance for the people of Kansas who found themselves in probably one of their worst times during the pandemic was 50 years old. So I like to equate it with, it was the age of disco. The original Star Wars had just been released. And so through the years, we had piecemealed different pieces of technology together. So we had 5 or 6 systems that were just, 50 to 20 years old. And we all know how quickly technology moves nowadays. My cell phone from last year is already outdated. And in fact, one of the systems that we used, you couldn't even use a mouse. It was all command line, had to use your keyboard. And so, the pandemic, just along with many other states, just presented unsurmountable challenges for us. And so we knew then that it was time to start looking at upgrading the system. And so that's what Governor Kelly did when she came in. Unfortunately, the pandemic presented more challenges, so we had to pause it for just a little while. But in June of 2022, we officially kicked this project off. And I'm proud to say it's been a phenomenal project. Certainly, we've had our hiccups, but it's been the most rapid deployment of any state unemployment insurance system ever. And it's a foundation that we're committed to continuing to improve for decades to come.
We'll talk about that just a little bit, not so much this. We know it's improved, because I think those of us that work within it or work around it every day understand and see that. What actually took place? Because this wasn't just replacing a new software, or in this case, a new floppy disk, or et cetera. This was more like a forklift coming in and cleaning out.
Yeah, you're exactly right. This wasn't just an upgrade of an existing system. This was a comprehensive overhaul for employers and claimants. So what we did was, you're exactly right. It's not just like downloading a new app, and that's primarily because each state has its own unique laws and regulations related to unemployment insurance. And so there's significant planning, design, development, and testing that goes into it. And so what we have done, as I mentioned, is develop a framework we're going to be able to continuously improve. And I think that's really emblematic of Governor Kelly's administration, the continuous improvement. There's always room for growth. There's always room to be better. And so that is our commitment to the employers and the employees in the state of Kansas, our workforce.
Part of it is access and how people can access the system. You actually have developed a brand new site that you can go to, kansasui.gov. What do people find if they jump to that site?
So there's really three things that folks are going to see with the new system. The first one is a better user experience. So the updated interface provides more self-service options. It's easier for these claimants to track the status of their claims, if there's any information that we need for them, and able to access their benefits much more easily. And on the employer side, the employers are going to see very similar functionality and flexibility. Also, and I know this is very important to the entire Kansas community, is our enhanced security. Because we are using modern technology, we've bolstered the system to make it even more difficult for these bad actors to try to exploit the system, so we can ensure that claimants can get the services that they need when they're in their time of most need. And then because it's also modern technology on the back end, that allows us to assist you better. Again, we're not working with 5 different systems up. We can use a mouse. It's much more scalable and nimble. If we ever experience another economic downturn, that we can quickly spin up any new federal programs that might come down the line.
Boy, there's a couple follow-ups there. First off, the access from people and employers, when they transition off. Right now, you don't see a whole lot of unemployment. Has that affected the kind of the volume of business that you guys are seeing?
Sure. So, yes, employment is historically low for the state of Kansas. But what we're seeing right now is what we call it's our seasonal layoff season. So we've all seen, due to the weather, people that we are in like linear construction, so asphalt, concrete, construction workers, they're typically laid off this time of year. And additionally, we've seen some major industrial layoffs. For example, General Motors has laid off a number of folks because of the retooling of their plant over in Kansas City. So we are seeing higher volume, but that is typical of this time of year. We expect when the weather, like you said, when it comes back to the nice spring-like times, that call volumes will return to normal.
One thing about having a system that works, you know what you can expect when it goes in and out. What you have to work with is in the state government and now the federal government making changes. Let's talk about the state first. Governor Kelly's been involved with and been a cheerleader for you getting all this done. Do you expect any major challenges in the state?
We're constantly have our pulse on what's happening in Washington. Within the state government, everybody's been very supportive. They have seen the need for not only financial support of a system like this, but kind of the cultural support. The silver lining of the pandemic, as I've always said, is that everybody was finally aligned, knowing that the risk of continuing that old system was not something that we could subject our state to. And so I believe that we have the commitment to keep moving this system forward, our programs forward. And it's been a lot of rewarding work working with our stakeholders and also Governor Kelly's administration.
Any issues coming from the national levels, needing of support, or how do you stay ahead of that?
So we've got a great team, both here at the governor's office and in DC, that keeps us apprised of anything that might be coming up. Certainly a couple of weeks ago, with the executive order to suspend all federal funding, made us a little nervous, but obviously that's been halted for now. So we're hoping that in DC, and plus, our delegation here in Kansas understands how important the programs, not just unemployment insurance, but industrial safety and health, labor relations, workers' compensation, and employer relations are to the state of Kansas, the people, and our businesses.
Well, Amber, I want to talk about all those things that you just mentioned, because it's so important to employers to understand you have some resources for them as well, and you try to work on all those different things. We're going to take a quick break and come back and talk about what you offer for Kansans and the people that do it. Coming back with our Secretary of Labor for the state of Kansas, Amber Schultz, in just a couple minutes.
Since 1776, the United States of America continues to stand tall. It's been tested before, many times. Through grit and the ability to move forward, we create better tomorrows. We help our clients live their best lives to and through retirement. We make it easier. Thank you, Kansas. Worth Wealth Management, enhancing lives and strengthening families.
Welcome back to Forward Ever, leading in challenging times with our guest, Kansas Secretary of Labor, Amber Schultz. And boy, we had a good first part of our program, and congratulations on what you've done in the last 4 years. But there's more years ahead. You have a great team there. You mentioned what you do in the state. Explain to those listening, kind of on each end of the scale, maybe bookend, what you guys do for not only employers, but employees.
So one of the biggest things that we do for employers, and we're really starting to highlight this when we go out and talk to folks, is our labor market statistics team. So they have a plethora of information to help businesses, decision makers, policymakers, provide that framework for what the Kansas economy is going to look like. And so we work with employers to determine high paying wage jobs, high demand jobs, jobs in Kansas that are high paying that you don't need a college degree for. We work with employers to make sure that the salaries are competitive, that they pay, so we're not losing people across state lines to Missouri or Colorado or even Nebraska. And so all of this information is available on our website. So I would encourage folks to go out and look. It's very user friendly. It's very pedestrian. Anybody can use it and work with it. Another thing that we offer for employers is our industrial safety and health programs. So we are responsible for two areas. The first is our public sector. And so we will go out and look for safety and health compliance in schools, municipal buildings, county courthouses, universities, you name it, and it's all free. The other thing that we do for smaller businesses is we provide those same consultation services, very similar to OSHA, but it's not OSHA. So our goal is to make sure that the employer and the workforce are safe. They can come home to their family and friends at night. And again, those are all free.
And is that just easy on the website? You just go to the website, or can you actually make a call over to your office as well?
Both. We're very accessible. So we have information on our website on how you can request some of those consultations, or certainly please give us a call and we can walk you through kind of what that looks like and what you can expect and what the follow-up is.
Many Kansas employers are having trouble finding employees. And I know at one point you were in that same boat.
Right.
How are you now? Do you have enough people to get the job done?
Yeah, so we worked really hard both on our information technology side and also the call center. Right now, we have about just over 100 people in our call center that are either taking calls, making decisions, providing support. And we've actually been, our turnover on the IT side is incredibly low, especially compared to other state entities, not just here in Kansas, but around the nation. And I think that goes back to what I was talking about before. What I do and how I do it is important. And so my leadership again style really lends to bringing a voice for everybody that works here. And I think that people see that, cultivating culture of positive influence enables everybody to contribute to our collective success. And so when they see that, it's meaningful for them, I believe.
Well, Amber, and you mentioned this a couple of times in our programs about leadership. You've been in public service, you said, for 30 years. Go back, what got you started into public service, and who do you have as mentors out there that said, hey, you can make a difference, Amber, if you go out and do the right things?
Right. That's a great question. I've pondered that quite a bit. So I actually started out at the Kansas Geological Survey at KU, just as a student when I was attending KU, and I didn't really recognize that it was public service. It was just in the mid 90s. The internet was just becoming popular. My boss at the time said, "Hey, do you know anything about web development?" And I said, "No, I do not." And he said, "Well, you better figure it out." And so it just kind of spawned from there. I certainly tried to, chase the almighty dollar for a couple of years, and I realized it just wasn't very fulfilling. And I would look at my mentors like Ken Nelson. He's the state geographic information officer. He's still at the Kansas Geological Survey. Ivan Weichert, he's very involved here in the city of Topeka. And I was like, what, how is that so fulfilling for them? Like, I can just tell that they get up in the morning and are just excited to go to work. And it dawned on me that they are public servants. And so I left private sector after about 3 years, and I've been in public service ever since. And it's very rewarding because you do things that people don't even notice every day. So for example, when I was in public works at the city of Topeka and the city of Lawrence, it sounds so silly, but like I would drive around town and be like, do you guys like your roads that you're driving? They're so nice and smooth. Did you like your coffee that you made this morning with, the water? It's so impactful, and I just can't describe how rewarding it really is.
Well, thanks for making a difference for Kansas and all your teams. How many total employees do you have?
So here at Labor, we have about 415 full-time employees. And again, that is, internal support staff, and then our 5 separate programmatical staff.
Well, keep leading the charge for us. And I hope people go to the kansasui.gov website, and that has a bunch of information there. And of course, ways to call and connect. But Amber, thanks for rebuilding the team there over the last 4 years. I know it makes a difference to people on both as employers and employees that need help along the way. So thank you.
Thank you. Always good to talk to you.
You too. Our guest today is Kansas Secretary of Labor, Amber Schultz. You're listening to Forward Ever, Leading in Challenging Times, brought to you by Worth Wealth Management. I'm Gary Shorman.
Thanks for joining us for Forward Ever, Leading in Challenging Times, presented by Worth Wealth Management. Join us right here next week for another episode with host Gary Shorman. Until then, remember to move forward ever, backward never.